Well, hello, COS supporters. My name is Andrew Wardruff. Welcome to another episode of COS Live. As you might see, Rita is not joining us for this episode. She is off doing more important things with her family. We will see her hopefully next week or the week after. But in the meantime, we have an exclusive interview with the South Carolina State Representative, Bill Taylor. He is joining us to talk about the amazing victory that was secured in South Carolina a couple of weeks ago. He's going to have analysis, and we're going to talk about what's next in this process. But before we get to that, of course, we do have our Article 5 trivia giveaway question with none other than the COS Vice President, Mike Ruthenberg. Mike, take it away.
Hello, Andrew. It's good to see you. I hear you're flying solo today. I'm sure you're going to have an incredible time talking with Rep. Taylor, and I'm excited to bring you a little bit more knowledge about the Convention of States project in our trivia moment. I'm wearing a Hell No Joe shirt, and it is a little bit of a coincidence and really heartening to have come back where I was this weekend with about 150 other Convention of States folks, and the good people of Patriot Academy hosted us at Front Sight Firearms Training, and we learned a handgun defense course, learned a lot about the Second Amendment, learned a lot about the Constitution, why it's so important for us to not only bear arms and to enjoy our Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms, but to learn how to properly handle them. It was incredible. I went with my wife, two of my sons, and that's going to be coming around again, and I would recommend you keep an eye on that, the Front Sight training. You can look it up online and see what Front Sight's all about. It is a top-notch group of experts that really know how to teach you how to use firearms, whether you're a seasoned veteran or a beginner. And one of the things, and by the way, that's going to be our prize today. If you are the one that gets the first answer to our trivia question today, you'll get a Hell No Joe shirt. You'll get it in any size you want. Our store is up and running right now. It's really wonderful how many things that are going on. You guys have done an amazing amount of shopping there, and we're in full swing right now. So go to shopconventionestates.com. Should you not be the winner of the shirt, or if you just want to get something, so when you walk around with your COS gear on, people will talk to you and you'll be able to share what COS has to do. There's a lot of people right now, moving into our trivia question, that are real big fans of Convention of States. We've seen a giant influx of Convention of States supporters, where we've topped 5 million supporters overall. We have over 2 million petition signers, and people are becoming volunteers, over 20,000 volunteers. And it really makes a difference. Every single state has a robust army of grassroots activists that are making things happen. And you've heard in the past, we've had 5 presidential candidates that have been endorsers of the Convention of States project. And the trivia question today is, there are 2 sitting governors right now that are endorsers, that endorse heartily the Convention of States project. Who are those people? Who are those 2 endorsers that are governors of the Convention of States project right now? Go ahead and get those fingers going. Type it in. I would also encourage you guys to continue to stay on those comments, continue to ask questions, continue to participate, because that's what gets this out. That's why we have such great engagement on these Facebook Live programs. So I'll be back a little bit later. I'll share with you the answer, and hopefully you already knew it and you popped it in there, and I'll talk to you in a little bit. Back to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Mike. Well, we are going to transition now to our exclusive interview with Representative Bill Taylor. Well, we are pleased to welcome onto the program South Carolina State Representative Bill Taylor, who is the winner of the Abraham Lincoln Award for Leadership Towards a More Perfect Union, and he's also the lead sponsor for the COS resolution in South Carolina. Representative Taylor, thank you for joining us today, and how are you doing?
I'm absolutely delighted to be with you. I'm doing great, by the way. Hope you are as well. But most importantly, we are celebrating a great victory in the South Carolina House of Representatives.
Yeah, and that's going to be my first question because congratulations first of all on the amazing victory for you and the South Carolina team. It was absolutely inspirational to watch it on the House floor. And you've been working towards this for a long time. You were the first legislator to pre-file the COS resolution, and you've been a faithful supporter of Convention of States now since 2013. So my first question is going to be, what did it feel like when you saw the switchboard turn green after all those years of hard work, saw that switchboard turn green, and you secured victory? What was it like?
Well, it's gratifying, of course, because we had been at this for over 7 years. Sometimes things move slowly in South Carolina, but 7 years. I filed the bill first in December of 2013. There's a backstory to that, by the way. I was about to pre-file the bill, but realized that I'd be the first state, or we'd be the first state. And given that there's some history here about, there they go again down in South Carolina, firing the first shot. So I called a Virginia delegate, and I knew he was about ready. And I said, can you file on the same day? And he said, sure, I can do that. And so we both went, and the news releases went, South Carolina and Virginia. And then it was Virginia and South Carolina. So I got a little cover for that. And really, I was on for the next month or so over the Christmas holidays and into January, and a lot of talk shows around the country and all of that, talking about Convention of States because it was new. Anyway, here's what I really want to tell you. This is the most important thing. I did not win this. Believe me. I mean, I may have been the lead sponsor. And by the way, at the end of the run, we had 55 sponsors on this bill, all Republicans, I might add. But it's the grassroots. The grassroots is what won this, and I predict would win it in any other state. When legislators hear from the folks that are their constituents that vote to put them in office, that means an awful lot, particularly the ones from your House district or your Senate district. And the grassroots in South Carolina is some 42,000 strong. It's in fact, I believe this year it was recognized as the number one state organization by Convention of States. So they got the award because they're so organized, so efficient, and they've got the drill down. They know how to do it politely, respectfully, but keep pressing. So perseverance is always what counts. Because in anything, there's going to be failures and setbacks, and you just got to keep going forward and forward and forward. And we have done that, and we've been victorious in the House. We're halfway there, as we say in South Carolina. We got the Senate to go yet.
Yeah, and some of the viewers, they may not be familiar with the difficulty that is presented when it comes to moving a piece of legislation through the legislature. Especially getting that legislation to its final form and keeping it the way it was intended to be. So the viewers a couple of weeks ago, they saw on the House floor some of the debate, and they saw you give an eloquent speech, and you were very statesmanlike. But then there was also many opponents who were grandstanding, and they were hurling lies about Convention of States, lies about Article 5 and the process, and it was very excruciating to watch at moments. But in your mind, was the final result of securing the COS resolution in the House, was that ever in doubt for you?
Well, it was in doubt for 7 years. But and we had many obstacles, including there was a committee chairman of Judiciary that was very opposed to it over the years, and he wasn't about to let it through. So that was my major stumbling block. So remember this, the legislative process is supposed to be difficult. If it were too easy, we'd have too many more laws, and so it's supposed to be arduous, difficult. And that's okay, except when it's your bill, then you'd prefer it to be very fast and get it through. But understanding that, it has lots of ups and downs and disappointments, and I was disheartened at one point, but you just kind of fight back like anybody in anything worth doing. You just keep doubling down on it. On that debate, by the way, we knew we were pretty secure. Here's the thing. the whip count. You'll hear the term whip count. That means counting noses. Every legislator, we had a perfect whip count thanks to the grassroots. They talked to their legislators. They asked them a direct question: will you support it? Will you vote for this when it comes to the floor, or it's debated next Tuesday or whatever it was? And so we had a very accurate whip count. We lost a few votes because people had to leave the chamber because we got into the evening, and we then gathered a few votes. And we also had a few Republicans that were reluctant, who just didn't vote. And that was a favor to us not to vote, because then there wasn't a negative vote against it. So it's a difficult process, but we were, well, let's just say this: we were pretty assured up until right through the debate. And by the way, on that debate, we understand that the Democrats and even a few Republicans got up there, and you can call it grandstanding. Some certainly were, but there was also a genuine concern about various things. That's okay. That's part of the debate. We didn't go overboard on our side. In fact, I was the only one person that spoke in favor of the bill in 4 hours of debate. We still won.
Mm-hmm. And you spoke so eloquently. It was an amazing speech. It was so inspirational. I loved watching.
Can I add one thing? This is funny about the speech. So in the rules, we were in the contested calendar, which means the debate can go on. One person, like me, can speak for an hour. So obviously I've been speaking about this for 7 years, so I pretty much got most of it up here. Don't need a lot of notes. However, the night before I sat down and knew I was going to have 1 hour. Well, we ended up trying to close debate, so we did something called cloture, and that means that every person gets only 10 minutes, and you have to declare if you're for or against the bill. So I got only 10 minutes. So what we took was a 1 hour preparation. Actually, it could have been an hour and 30, and I was prepared for that, and I collapsed it to 10 minutes. So the irony of that was I had a lot more to say and no time to say it, but that's okay too.
Well, you were able to get so much in 10 minutes, and it was very inspirational. So I want to move on to, because we talked briefly about the process and how it's difficult in the House, but we've passed in the House now. So what's the next step in South Carolina? Where does this resolution go now? And tell us about the next part of the process to get South Carolina to be the 16th state to join our Article 5 movement.
Well, first and foremost, I hope we're the 21st state, you see, next January, because I hope there's a whole bunch of states between now and then that become the 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th, whatever. So I'd be okay with being the 22nd or 23rd as long as we do it next January or February. So the bill is over in the Senate. The Senate has their own bill on this, and it's an identical bill. Their bill has already been heard by a Senate subcommittee, which is where we take testimony, and now it's been passed to the full committee where they would vote and send it to the floor. There's some notion that since ours went over there and they've seen the vote on ours, that they might take ours. And since it's already passed their subcommittee, maybe they'll take ours. There's procedural things they have to figure out and pull it to the floor and get a floor vote in the Senate. So I think we're very well suited over there. We have 46 senators, 22 of them, all Republicans, are sponsors of the bill. That's a big number. You're only going to need 26 or so to pass the bill. So I think we're in good shape over there, and I hopefully by January or February. The work is never done, and the grassroots knows this. They are well organized. They are planning, plotting, whatever, right now of how to get that vote, how to get more sponsors, how to make sure you secure the whip count. So when it comes to the floor, and you expect the same sort of debate over there in the Senate, that they will actually pass the bill.
And, since we're talking about the grassroots right now, maybe we could talk about how important they are to this process. And like you mentioned earlier in the program, the South Carolina team was given an award by Convention of States in 2020 for being the largest state team, the most organized state team. So what can you say about the South Carolina Convention of States volunteers?
They are marvelous. I mean, honest to gosh, they are so on fire for this, and they have been, um, and they've never given up. And more and more people understand what this is. I don't think Article 5 is a very difficult concept, but some people have a hard time grasping it. So once they do and they figure out this is our only legal and lawful way to go and restrain the federal government that is completely bloated, completely out of control. I mean, completely. I mean, we all see it every day on the news. You only have to watch the news to know, oh, we're in big trouble here.
Right.
And they aren't going to fix themselves, are they? They aren't going to do it. So we have to do that. And the founders were so brilliant in saying, you states, when time comes, here's your emergency button. Here is the rip cord on the parachute. Pull it, because this is what will save the country. I've been quoted. The Convention of States has even a graphic they made up of me at one time that says, that I reminded people that the states are the parent. The federal government is the child. The states created the federal government. It isn't the other way around. We've just got this thing turned upside down now because the federal government is just all powerful and big. It wasn't supposed to be that way. The Constitution is about limiting the federal government, entirely about limiting them. And obviously that hasn't worked so well. So this is why we need this. But let me go back to the original point you made, which is the grassroots. They are disciplined. They are highly organized. I can tell you back over the 7 years, there was a point where they got very frustrated and angry, and they were ready to lash out. Human nature, I get that. Not productive with people in public service, elected officials. Threatening people, it doesn't really get you very far. It certainly doesn't get them to listen to you when you threaten them. Like, I voted for you, and by God, I'm never going to vote for you again, and I'm going to get my vote against you. It doesn't work.
Right.
You've just got to go with them with respect and politeness, but perseverance, with a good story, good arguments. And listen, I'll confide on you something. This is an aside, but we have some representatives who I'll call, they're Republicans, but they, on the spectrum of Republicans, they're over in the John Birch area. Okay, they're uber right, and that's okay. That's their belief. I have a lot of those same beliefs myself as a hardcore conservative guy. However, one of them said to me, an attorney said to me at the last moment as we were debating, he said, he'd actually made a little speech about the bill, kind of light speech about why he opposed it, runaway convention, all that malarkey. And he finally turned to me and said, I said, well, thanks for doing that, sort of light-handed. And he said, you may be right. You may be right. And after all of these years, he looked at me and said, you may be right. This may be the only fix. And he chose to be one of those 4 out of the 8 or so that are in that genre to not vote against the bill. He just didn't vote. So that was a vote in our favor, of course, when you just don't vote at all. So I mean, that shows where we are. Let me give you one statistic that I'm going to share with people, because and this is what I said to him. Of any proposed amendment to the Constitution, it has to be sent to ratified. They make the deal about, you're going to rip up the Constitution, you're going to rewrite it. Obviously, that can't happen. This is an amendments convention of states, just to propose amendments to limit the federal government. So once those are created and sent to the states, of course, it takes 38 states to approve any amendment. We couldn't even get the ERA signed, right, and ratified. But it's not 38 states. It's 76 different legislative chambers. Now, I can assure you, working in the General Assembly of South Carolina, it's hard to get those 2 to work together, let alone think of that, 76 legislative chambers. Any one of them can, subtract from the big number and not get you to the 3/4 of the states.
In other words, you need a lot of support.
Well, yeah, you need a lot of support, but that argument of the runaway convention, when you just do the math and say 76 legislative chambers, what do you say to? He looked at me and he said, That's the best argument I've ever heard.
Mhm.
Period. And here's a fellow who opposed it, smart guy, by the way, and a friend. And he said, that's the best argument I've ever heard. He says, you need to keep telling people that. 76 legislative chambers have a veto power.
And it speaks to what you were just saying, though, about not ruffling feathers, not getting in their face, not threatening, all of that stuff, just gradually moving people towards your side of the camp through truth, by through gentleness. It just speaks to exactly what you were saying. And it leads actually to my next question, because there are many viewers who might be watching right now who are thinking, man, I just don't know what I can do.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know how I can participate. I feel disheartened, like there's nothing that can be done. I'm just a little person. No one's going to listen to me. So what would you say to the viewer who has those thoughts? What pieces of advice would you give to them to help them to stand up and to be heard and to make an impact?
Wow, you have asked the ultimate great question, because back, I first ran for office in 2010, and my wife was asked, why is he running for being a state representative? She said, well, he's tired of throwing spitballs at the television news. So I was frustrated by that at that time. The folks that are listening to this, you have the power. You have the power individually to make this difference. Because if you think of the building blocks, your state representative, your state senator are supposed to be the most influential politicians, if you will, elected officials, public servants in the country, not congressmen, not U.S. senators. You can affect those people. We live in your neighborhoods, in your towns. You see us in the grocery store. Talk to us, push on us, give us reasons. And that's how you can do this. And think about that. It builds up, because if they pass it in the House and they pass it in the Senate, you become the next state. And it only takes 34 states. So your building block is hugely important. We won this in South Carolina because of the grassroots, not because of Bill Taylor. It just simply wasn't. Yes, I was on the front lines inside the legislature, but frankly, it was the grassroots that won this completely. So you become part of the grassroots, and you can be the one that helps win this. Maybe not seem like you're doing a lot, but think about it. You're doing the ultimate. Because if we get to 34 states, we're coming for you. Look at Washington. We're coming for you. We're going to come and corral you and fix you like you've never been fixed before, because that's the power the founders give us. So use the power the founders gave you and the states to get this done.
That's a powerful statement right there. Use the power the founders gave you, that they entrusted with we the people. I love that. What a great piece of advice. You mentioned a moment ago kind of like how you started as a representative. So our viewers might not know that as a state representative, it's not a full-time gig like we see in Congress.
No, we haven't figured out what part of the part-time job is part-time. It's a running joke among legislators, because there's so much to do, and I'm retired, so I did this as my retirement job, and I'm not bragging, but I just fact is I work as hard at this as I did as a CEO of running companies, just because, as I like to say, winners do the things that losers choose not to do. So, you just do the thing. But my colleagues who work for a living and have families and young families, they just work their tail off. I mean, it's a full-time job with part-time pay, and then you got to go make your living elsewhere. So it's a tough job, and I have great respect for my legislators, Republicans and Democrats. Public service is a noble calling. Now think about that. Public service is a noble calling, whether it's on the city council, county council, school board, any public service that one does. Now, not all people who do it are noble, but most are. Like any other group of people, I call it the bell-shaped curve. 60% of us are in the middle, 20% are exceptional, and 20% ain't so good. It's just like, whether it be your Kiwanis Club, your Rotary, your church group, or any other group you're in, it's the group of people. So most people, I know we're much maligned as, quote, politicians, probably deserve so in some cases, but the fact is, public service is a noble calling, and we should, I keep telling the grassroots, just treat your representatives and senators with respect, because they're committed to do the right thing. You just have to convince them of what the right thing is. So that's that power again that individuals have. I'm going to tell you a secret. We get a lot of emails. I mean, hundreds of emails, sometimes a day, on issues. It's hard to sort through them all, but we do. I look through them all, and the fact is, when you get one from a constituent, someone who's in your House district or your Senate district, you pay special attention. So if you get 10, that's a big number. 20, big number. I checked recently, I have somewhere near I represent 42,000 people. I have 600 petitions for the Convention of States in my House district. Of 42,000, of 24,000 voters, I have 600 of those petitions. The stack is about that thick of petitions I have received for people. That's a big voice.
Yeah. Amen. So we are, as you know, we are a nonpartisan organization, but throughout the grassroots and across the nation right now, there seems to be a sense of urgency to get this convention going. And many people are frustrated because the current administration seems like they have a deep desire to expand the role of government within our lives. And there's increased spending. There's increased spending, is putting it mildly. There's lavish spending that is going on. And then there's also of course, the desire to change the schools through injecting the new curriculum with critical race theory and the 1619 Project and all these other things that really should be reserved for local communities to decide stuff like that. But with this sense of urgency, do you share that sense of urgency with other Americans, other COS supporters? And do you think the trajectory of the United States, do you think it's going towards a good path right now?
Well, it's obviously not going to a good path. If you believe in federalism and you believe in limited government, wow, we are on the opposite side of that. Is it scary? Oh, hell yes, it's scary. Is the Convention of States a quick fix? No, it's the ultimate fix. And that's the important part. So when you talk about ultimate fixes, this doesn't come easily, and there's a lot of resistance, hither and yon, and we just have to fight through it and move swiftly. Look, the day after we passed that evening, on Tuesday evening, passed the Convention of States bill in the House, I got a call from a senator at 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, we're at the end of our session. It was ending that week. And he wanted to know how we could get it into what we call the sine die resolution, which means that we could take it up this summer or this fall as we came back to do other things. That wasn't possible, but I love the enthusiasm that he said, we got to get this done now. And I said, I get it, but we can get it done in January, and we still won't be to that 34, so we'll still be in the mix to get there. It is urgent. We've got to get this done quickly, but the legislative process is arduous and it takes time, and unfortunately, too much time. But look, we get more numbers. We get up in the high 20s of states doing this, or by the time you cross the 30 state threshold, we're going to scare the living hell out of Washington. Going to scare the hell out of them. And they're going to say, oh man, what are we going to do? We got to fix this. We got to do something because they're coming after us. That's the point. We're coming after you. We're going to fix you because it's our right as states. The founders told us the states can have a convention of states. They can have an amending convention, and we can limit the federal government. So take heart. For those of you who are watching this and say, well, back to the original question, what can I do? Is this really helpful? Is it important? Yes, 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 yes. You've got to do everything you can to move this forward in your states. And I know you'll get rebuffed. It's okay. Keep coming at it. 7 years in South Carolina. Hopefully it only takes a year or two in your place, but we get to some more states, we're going to really get noticed even more, and we're on the cusp of that. Last year with COVID, it got all delayed and everything, but we're on the cusp of really moving forward. This is exciting times. We've got to stop them. And by the way, for those of us, this is not a red and blue issue.
Right.
This is a red, white, and blue issue. This is about America. This is about our country. This is the way we save our nation. The forces of evil are very great in Washington, D.C. I mean, it's unfathomable. I can't imagine. I think of my dad, who passed away 20 years ago. He was 94, and often he kind of on my shoulder, whispered in my ear, and goes like, "What the hell is going on? And what are you doing about it?" Well, I think of him often because I'm doing it for my grandchildren and their children beyond them. We got to fix this and fix it as quickly as we can, and we can. There is great hope for this. The hope is in the Convention of States. We've got to do this.
Mm-hmm. Boy, I love your enthusiasm, Representative Taylor. I love how you said, we're coming after you. I love that, because we are behind this, and we are coming after the federal government to stop the abuses of power. I just love that enthusiasm, and it gets me excited. So we have a couple more questions. I want to ask you about what your favorite amendment might be when we get to a convention.
Ooh.
So as you know, we have 3 planks. There's the plank to put restrictions on the federal government's ability to spend, so some type of fiscal restraints. There's also the term limits plank that would put a stop to career politicians. And of course, there is the restraining the federal government's overreach, putting ironclad shackles that would prevent the federal government from going beyond what they were intended to do. So in light of what's going on, do you have a favorite amendment idea that falls within those 3 categories?
Yes, all, and all. No, I got to participate in 2015 in the simulation in Williamsburg. We did a Convention of States, as you know, simulation. It was amazing.
Yes.
Went there, and I became immersed in it as a delegate from South Carolina, along with 2 of my colleagues. We went to committee, we formed, and just like you would in the legislature, we debated, we argued over points and words and all of this, and came back and we adopted, I believe it was 7 of those amendments in just a 2-day period. So a real convention would take a lot longer than that. And I think words count, but let me just do a couple of things. Certainly the balanced budget amendment, but it's not a simple issue. You can't just say, well, balance your budget, because back in '94, we came at them and they said, hey, yeah, we'll take care of it. And they passed their own balanced budget fake amendment, well, not amendment, but a fake rule and all of this. And look where it's gotten us. So that didn't work. It's got to be a more complex issue about taxation and all of this, because they'll just raise taxes if you do this over here. So that's a complex issue. Term limits is a complex issue. Oh, it's easy. Just term limit them. Well, you just then enable the bureaucracy to do this. So there, it's been suggested that maybe that ought to include not only Congress and federal judges, but I'd be all about federal judges because we make them kings, life forever, all that stuff. So, but also look at the bureaucracy. Maybe in the federal bureaucracy, you can only stay in an agency for 15 years, and then you have to go to another agency where you obviously are starting over, and even at a high rank, you're sort of starting over and you lose your cachet and control. So that may be a way to do that. And remember the Commerce Clause. The Commerce Clause is what they use for everything. They've used that, misinterpreted that, so has the Supreme Court, to allow the overreach in every tentacle you can imagine. And they shouldn't be in education. We shouldn't have a federal education department. It goes on and on what they're doing. And by the way, the federal government just uses extortion.
Right.
Understand that they are in the business like the mafia of extorting. And what they do is they say, oh, we're going to put 10 cents into every dollar you spend in local education. And for that 10 cents, we get majority rule. We get to tell you what to do. How would that work? How would you be a 10% shareholder in a company and get to control the dang thing? So that's what they do. And they threaten you. Oh, if you don't do that, we'll take your money away. when you look at it, of the $30 billion state budget in South Carolina, about a third of it is from the federal government. And it has to do with, obviously, roads. It has to do with Medicaid and all the school funding that goes in, and a little program. And there isn't just one dime that goes in. It goes in tiny little pieces all over the place. So it's insidious. You can hardly get a stop to it. And those are the real problems. So this is not a simple issue. We're going to get that convention of states. But we're going to have thoughtful people there who are willing to really, really examine how you get to a real cure in each of these areas.
Well, we're coming to the end of the interview. I got one last question for you. This has been really exciting. You're just a well of knowledge and of wisdom. So it's been great being able to talk with you for the last 30 minutes or so. So my last question is for the viewers out there in South Carolina who want to get involved, what is your message to them, and can you give them a call to action?
Oh, the call to action is everybody that's hearing this in every state, not just South Carolina. We're well organized. We have a lot of folks. Every state, wherever you are, even if you're in one of those blue states where they're not so interested. By the way, when we get to 34 states, even the blue states will get in that didn't want this, because they're not about to let us have a party without them being invited. And I'm not worried about that. Remember, each state gets only one vote when it comes down to things. So whereas South Carolina, little as it is as big as California and Texas. So you have got to step up. Every one of you that's listening to this, get on fire for this. This isn't that hard. When I say it, it's easy to understand. Pay attention to it. And we have the power. The power should be at the state level. Remember, the states create all cities and counties and towns. So they are the ultimate government. They created the federal government. And it's our time now to limit them, because they certainly are well out of control. So if you're tired of throwing spitballs at the television news, and God, why would you be watching the television news? Never mind, that's another subject. And I spent 42 years in the media business and television, so news, so I know, don't watch. But if you're throwing spitballs at that news and you're frustrated by things, take action. Take action today. Sign the petition. It'll go to the district, the people in your state that are monitoring those, and they'll reach out. Say, reach out to me. I need to be a worker for you, and work in your own House district, your own Senate district. Get her done, as they say.
I love that call to action. Thank you so much, Representative Taylor. It was an absolute pleasure being able to speak with you. And congratulations again on your hard work and the payoff. And again, congratulations to all the grassroots support there in South Carolina.
Appreciate it. Thanks for giving me the time.
All right, let's transition to the Article 5 trivia answer with Mike Ruthenberg.
Okay, what an amazing show to have an American hero in Bill Taylor come. South Carolina's seen so much. You heard all about it. You don't want to forget about somebody that has spent so many years being a champion of the Convention of States project. It was amazing. And that segues into our trivia question. If you were here in the beginning, our question was, there are two governors that have been and do endorse the Convention of States project. These are pivotal people. And I hope that you were one of the people that was first to put those names in. Chances are you've seen it in the notes, and you've been typing notes all along throughout this incredible program. The person that got it first gets the Hell No Joe shirt, like we had said earlier. And the answers are Governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, and Governor of Texas, which is Greg Abbott. Sorry, for some reason it slipped my mind. Greg Abbott has done a great job in Texas. Governor DeSantis is really leading the way. People think that he might be a presidential candidate. And there's a lot of people that have a lot of persuasion in their states. They've done a great job, Florida especially, when it comes to the pandemic and the issues that we've faced. He's been quite a leader. And it's important for us to understand and keep those people supported, to keep writing them, thanking them for the support they have of Convention of States. And it will allow us, those are both passed states. So both of them have passed Convention of States resolution. And I'm very confident that Bill Taylor and some of the other folks that are championing this all around the nation are going to be the reason why we get passed in the 34 states it's going to take. We will get there. It's super exciting. That's our trivia moment for today. Now back to Andrew, who will wrap us up.
Simply stated, here's the situation in America right now. Corrupt officials are way too comfortable with spending your money. They're way too comfortable with spending years and years within the swamp, and they are far too comfortable with abusing the power that we have given to them. And that power, it's gone beyond what the framers had intended the federal government to have. This is not how a free republic is supposed to look. But don't worry, there is a solution. And no, it's not electing the right people to office. No, the solution is in the Constitution. The founders knew that we would be at this moment. They knew there'd be wasteful spending. They knew there'd be career politicians, and that the federal government would go well beyond the enumerated powers that the states gave to the federal government. But they knew that it was going to be we the people that were going to have to reclaim our self-governance. So they gave us a clause in Article 5 that allows the states to get together to propose amendments. That's why Convention of States is working tirelessly to put you and all the rest of the American populace in control, back in control of the powers of the federal government. Go to conventionofstates.com where you can sign the petition, because we are so close to getting to a convention. We have 15 states that have passed the COS resolution. 34 is the magic number. When we get to 34 states, we are going to call a convention. We're going to send the career politicians packing. We are going to put term limits on elected officials. And of course, we're going to put ironclad restraints on the federal government that will restrain them from abusing their power. But it's going to take you. You need to get involved. So go sign this petition and join a local team so that we can change DC forever. Now, after you've done all of that, make sure that you go to our social media pages. MeWe, Gab, Parler, Instagram, wherever you're getting your social media buzz, make sure that you're following us and make sure that you are liking and sharing the COS content. Go to the Convention of States store as well. You'll see American-made apparel there. There's the Hell No Joe shirt. There's the Defiant shirt. There's the COS G.I. Joe shirt. There's plenty of amazing shirts that represent and show off COS. Go to www.conventionofstates.store to get a shirt today. Make sure that you also join us for the Battle Cry with Mark Meckler at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Sundays. You get your weekly dose of Mark, and of course, he talks about all things related to COS and current events. Absolutely amazing. You'll get a little bit of inspiration each Sunday night. And then we will see you next Tuesday, same time, same place, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Facebook. And remember, if you're looking for the person who's going to restore the republic, look in the mirror, because it's going to be you. Well, that's all we have time for this episode. We'll see you next week. Bye.